Welcome, everyone. This is the How to Be an Effective Lobby Days Advocate. We have a wonderful panel that will go over all the information that you need to know. And to get the meeting started, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Missy Maseko, who will introduce the panelists. So, Missy, please take it away.
Good evening, everyone. I'm one of your co-chairs of the Public Policy Committee, Missy Maseko, and I'm here to kick off the session today. First of all, we just thank you so much for dedicating your time to participating in Lobby Day. Your participation makes a huge difference. The lobbying itself, I think historically, at least in the past 25 to 30 years, can sometimes get a bit of a bad name, but when you're thinking about lobbying from the perspective of constituents, when you're thinking about lobbying for the kinds of bills that we are working on, it does two things that are really important. One, the more you learn about proposed legislation, the more that you can tell others about it. You should never underestimate the power of word of mouth and other networks through which this kind of vital information can go out. And of course, a lot of really great research shows that legislators who are contacted by their constituents are far more likely to support relevant legislation. So thank you all again for all that you are doing. So I'm going to introduce the folks who are going to do most of the talking tonight. First is Amy Haum, my co-director of public policy and a superstar, and someone who is doing a lot of really fantastic work to bring this lobby day together with the team that we see here. So I'll skip Kathy Van Osten for a second and say Sue Miller, Ginny Hatfield, and Joy Frew. So Sue Miller, on the member of our public policy committee at the state level, and someone who brings a wealth of knowledge to our committee. And I'll always make sure that we are working in concert with our partners. Ginny Hatfield, another member of our public policy committee. It's somebody that is absolutely responsible for bringing you those really great team leadership packets, and is very much doing a lot of the heavy lifting on bringing this together. Joy Frew, another member of our public policy committee, and Joy has stepped in to do some of this work in her first year on AAUW. So thank you so much, Joy, for stepping into this position. And the last speaker that I kind of skipped over, but is Kathy Van Osten. Kathy is our legislative advocate, and she will be here to give us a little bit of an update on some of the pieces of legislation that you will be talking about in your meetings next week. So with that, I will hand it over to Amy to go on to the next section.
Thank you, Missy. I first want to echo Missy's sentiments and just thank all of you wonderful AAUW California advocates. It's really incredible to have this large group of AAUW members who care so deeply about advancing legislation that improves the lives of women and girls. We're so appreciative of your passion and your commitment to our mission. Tonight, we're going to be covering the teams, the purpose and scope of lobby days, how to conduct your meetings, how to talk about our bills, and the logistics. First, I'll share a few stats with you. There are a total of 154 people who are registered for lobby days. 63 branches are participating. We have 40 people who will be coming to Sacramento for in-person meetings. 114 people are going to be participating in meetings via Zoom. And we're working to schedule almost 80 meetings altogether. Most of them are not yet scheduled, but Kathy Van Osten, our legislative advocate, and the wonderful Julika Barrett, whom you all know, are both working very hard to get all of the meetings scheduled. And we are expecting to get a lot of confirmations this week. Most participants will be meeting with at least one of their representatives. Now, a bit about the teams. We have 10 teams who are going to be in Sacramento. We have 36 Zoom teams. Teams have been formed based on shared legislators wherever possible. And we've tried to keep branch members together where possible. In some instances where there's only one AAUW member in a district, the committee has assigned out-of-district members to fill out the team. Teams usually consist of 3 to 5 members, although in some cases we have teams of just 2 people, and in some cases we have teams of 6. A team leader has been designated for each team, and the team leader has a few responsibilities. The team leader is the point of contact for all communications with the Lobby Days Committee. Team leader should contact your team members and confirm that they're available on the scheduled dates and times. Decide which team members are assigned to present each of the 3 bills. Please meet with your team members before your meeting to make sure everybody knows their role. And we really strongly recommend that you do a dry run as a team. Now, regarding the Zoom links, wherever we can, we're asking the legislator's office to provide a Zoom link because this makes it very easy for our members to simply join. But in some cases where the ledge office is not able to provide a Zoom, we're asking, or we are using AAUW California Zoom accounts. So if a Zoom link that you receive has the password AAUWCA, the team leader needs to start the Zoom session. There won't be a waiting room, so everyone else will be admitted automatically. The team leader will take the lead in presenting the team members and our bills to the legislator or his or her staff. After the meeting, please send a thank you email to the legislator or staff that you met with, and help us to track the success of Lobby Days by completing a visit evaluation form. Now, the purpose and scope of Lobby Days. Lobby Days is a wonderful opportunity to acquaint yourself with your legislators, acquaint your legislators with AAUW, AAUW California, and your branch, and advocate on behalf of AAUW California's top 3 priority bills for 2024. Now, on the morning of April 2nd, we are going to have a kickoff Zoom meeting. We're asking everybody to join at 8:55 a.m. because Assemblymember Cotty Petrie Norris, who is the author of our signature bill, the Rape Survivor Bill, AB 2843, will be addressing us at 9:00 a.m. And after Assemblymember Petrie Norris's address, we will have a question and answer session for any last-minute questions that people may have before we let you all go off to your meetings. Regarding the meetings, meetings will last about 15 to 20 minutes. The team leader makes introductions, presents an overview of AAUW, AAUW California, and the leader's branch, if their branch is in district. Other team members will give overviews of their branches, if in district. Members will explain their assigned bill and ask for a commitment of support. And the team leader thanks the legislator or staff and gets their contact info for follow-up. Now I'm going to turn it over to Ginny Hatfield, who is going to take us through the next section.
Okay, thank you, Amy. Let's get started on how you go about lobbying your legislator. The next several slides you're going to see are designed to give you an overall outline of the process. So let's start with the team leaders. Hopefully, those of you team leaders on the call have now received information about your team members and the appointments that have been made thus far. Basically, your job is to open the meeting, introduce yourselves and your branch affiliation, and then make sure that your team members are introduced. You can either introduce them or you can have them introduce themselves. The latter option might work better if they are from different branches. We want you to start off with a little bit of information about AAUW. Don't assume that the staffer, I'm assuming in most cases, it's going to be a staffer you're meeting with and or the member know that much about AAUW. So here's a chance to give some highlights of what we're all about as an organization. You see the ones listed here. I would ask, the person you're meeting with, do you know that much about AAUW? What can you tell me? If they don't know that much, you have your chance to fill in and give them some information. You can use some of this information here. And I'd really urge you to make sure that you tell them that AAUW California has about 116 branches and over 9,500 members. We are the largest membership in the nation. And I think that would be important to our legislators. They know that we have some power in numbers. So next slide. This is a continuation of team leader, okay, and part of your script. If you are from the same branch and your branch is in the district, okay, the team leader should tell a little bit about the branch and what your branch is doing for the members' constituents, okay, what programs, you really hype up what your branch is doing or something you're particularly proud of that your branch is doing, or if you've had a chance to work with his office and on a local basis, that's always important. It's helpful to take a little bit of time to maybe do some research on the member and note if he or she is a sponsor of one of our bills. We have on the public policy website bill tracker of all the bills that we had supported in 2023, and it lists the bills and their authors. You might want to kind of glance down that and see if the member you're going to meet with or the office is a sponsor of any of those bills. And if so, you should mention that in the interview and be sure to thank them for supporting our issues. If none of the team is in a legislator's district, this is another scenario. Be upfront with that and indicate that there aren't any members in the district at the meeting. AAUW felt the bill was very important and that also, there wasn't a member available from that district to meet at today's meeting. I would speak in general terms about the type of work conducted by the branches. So, you mentioned our mission statement, what we're trying to do, and the programs we employ to accomplish our objectives. TechTrek, GovTrek, SpeechTrek, NICWhistle, our local scholarship programs, which many of the branches participate in, Get Out the Vote, and then our fellowships that we provide for. You want to ask after you've finished if there's any questions, respond to those questions, if so. And then you want to set the stage for what's going to happen next, which is actually the bill presentations. So you're going to just outline and say, we do this on a yearly basis. Our legislative committee comes up with bills every year that we will support, usually about 30 of them. And of those 30, we take the 3 top bills, which we're discussing here today. So that gives you a great segue into your team presentations by introducing the first team speaker. Okay, we'll go to the next page. Okay, here's a template for a script for one of the team members. Again, if you're the first one up, thank the member or the staffer for the opportunity to meet. If you're from the member's district and the team leader isn't, then briefly tell a little bit about your branch and the activities that you engage with in the community. Conversely, if you're from a branch different from the team leader and other team members, you should also briefly talk a little bit about your branch. Present the bill talking points that you have been assigned. So we have a lot of information on the website We have the actual bill, we have the talking points, and we have what I want to say, the sheets that the legislative offices come up with. So you have quite a bit of information to work with. After you present your bill, ask if there are any questions. If there are, and you know the answer to a question being asked, answer it. If not, just say you're not quite sure, but you'll be glad to get the information back to the office. You'll have someone from our Public Policy Committee team contact them. And make sure to make the ask at the end of your presentation and see if the office is inclined to support the piece of legislation. In many cases, and I found out this from a couple of years of doing this myself, if you're meeting with a staffer, in many cases, they don't know the bill. They're not that familiar with the bill. There are thousands of bills that are introduced every session. And so might be a whole new thing for them, or they might not have looked up the bill before they were meeting with our office, with us. And, they will comment, well, I can't comment on it now, but I will make sure that the member gets all of this information. And the member himself might not, if you're meeting with a member personally, might not have that much of an awareness of the bill specifically. They serve on many committees. So this is your chance really to get that information to them directly. And then after you finish, the first team member introduces the next one for the next presentation, and so on. So we're on to the closing. Okay, the team leader back again for the closing. Be sure to thank the member and/or the staffer for their time and this opportunity. If you're meeting with a legislator, you want to make sure that you get the name of the staffer that's handling the bill, and so you can follow up with materials, and/or if there were questions, you can get back to them. And let's see, if you're meeting with a staffer, make sure you get the correct contact information to follow up with. The material we've covered in these few slides is the basics of what you should be covering in your meeting. You'll probably, be adding your personal touches, which will help its flow a bit more smoothly and maybe become a more comfortable conversation. So that's one of the reasons why we're suggesting that before the meeting, you really do meet with your team members and have a dry run and make your assignments, figure out who's doing what. As Amy mentioned, we have teams of 5 members, 4 members, 3 members, and even some of 2 members. So obviously, if, you're going to have, depending on the number of team members you have, you're going to have to adjust your assignments as to who's going to be doing what in the meeting. So if you are a team with 2 members and you would like to have another member added to that team, let us know and we will try to see what we can do about getting you an additional team member. And team leaders, you should be contacting us with that information and you can let us know and we'll try to do what we can to help. All this material is posted on the AAUW California website. If you go to the home page, you will see the Lobby Day link there. You click the link, that link will take you to our Public Policy Lobby Day page with all the material. And with this material, we hope you can use it to your advantage. So you have plenty of opportunity. If you miss taking notes or understanding what was happening tonight, you'll have the advantage of getting all of this information at your fingertips. So now I'll turn the next segment over to Amy.
Thank you, Ginny. These are some do's before the meeting. Do some homework. Make sure that you know where the member that you're meeting with stands on AAUW values. Make sure that you understand the bills, review the talking points, ask questions if you're unsure of something. And most of you will be on Zoom. So make sure that your equipment is working and that you have no distractions going on during the time of your meeting. During the meeting, relax, have fun. They're just people. Let them know if you're a constituent. Let your pride in AAUW shine through. Stick with your allotted time. These meetings, they don't give us a lot of time. Some offices are only giving us 15 minutes. Some will give us 20. So don't ramble. It's okay to read from talking points. Give them time to ask questions. Listen carefully to responses in your dialogue with them. It's okay to say, I don't know, and let them know that you're going to find out and somebody will circle back with them. And just make sure that you take note of questions and comments and feedback that is mentioned during the meeting. And finally, ask if we can count on the members' support. Some don'ts. If you've been a campaign contributor before the member, do not mention this. This is a big no-no. Don't be late. Check in a few minutes ahead of time to avoid computer glitches. If the legislator is about to speak or speaking, don't interrupt. Don't ramble and don't eat or drink. It's only 20 minutes. And some don't forgets. Designate somebody to take a picture of your Zoom screen. It's really nice to have these captured. Be flexible. We will have last minute changes that occur that are beyond our control. Your member or staffer may be late. Your member or staffer may have to cut meetings short. There may be technical glitches, and just be courteous no matter what. Be sure to get the contact info of the person that you met with. Make note of questions, concerns, responses, feedback, and send a thank you email at the end. Questions?
Okay, we have a few questions regarding logistics. First of all, I've got some questions like, how do we know who our team lead is? Will they be in touch? And when will we learn which member or staffer we will be meeting with? So
Okay.
my question, I guess, is, did everybody get emails regarding who they're meeting with, or just the team leaders? Because if they haven't had a chance to reach out, then maybe.
Okay.
So there's questions.
Everybody who has registered should have received an email letting you know that you are on team number, S10 or team number Z25. So you would have received an email that has the roster of your team, and it has information about which legislators that we are working to schedule you with. And if the meeting has not yet been scheduled, you would have been notified that we are working to schedule a meeting with that legislator. If the meeting has been secured, you've received information about the date, the time, and the details of the Zoom link. So everybody on this call should have received an email. If you haven't received an email from either Ginny or myself, please send me an email so that we could figure out where
Right.
something may have gotten lost. And my email is amyhom99@gmail.com.
Yes,
Okay,
I spoke to a number of the team leaders on the Zoom calls, and in many cases also sent them a fact sheet on the team leader responsibilities. So as Amy said, it went out to all the members on the team.
Okay, questions on the bill tracker. First is, make sure the bill tracker is updated with any members who have signed on to our 3 bills. It would be bad for us to ask for support and find out they've already signed on. So I'm questioning, I'm not familiar with the bill tracker 100% yet. So is that in fact happened, and is it up to date with that information?
Yeah, that is something that we will work with Kathy Van Osten, our legislative advocate, on, and she will research to make sure that if anybody has signed on to any of these 3 bills, that information will be reflected in the bill tracker.
Okay, good. Does Bill
There's
Tracker?
also a list from last year that I believe is on the public policy page for the bills from 2023 and what's happened with those, I think. Isn't there, Amy?
There is, yes. Yeah,
and
we
it's
have a
easy.
scorecard. Yeah.
And it's a scorecard, and the way it's set up, it's easy to see the member's name. And, you know, if you just glanced out that and you're having an appointment with one of those members, it would be good to mention that, saying, oh, I saw that you're a supporter of such and such, that we also, you know, are advocating. Yeah.
All right, the other question was, does Bill Tracker identify what committee will be considering each bill?
That level of detail, if you click on the hyperlink that has the bill number, that takes you to Capital Track that tells you what committee it's going to be going into if that's been determined.
And it's a good idea to Google the member and find out, you know, make sure you know because some people are going to districts that are not their own district. So click on it, find out their geographical, you know, district. They always have maps, you know, what committees they've on, that sort of thing, what their interests are, you know. It all takes you to their website. So.
Okay, and
Tracy, I'm so sorry. This is Kathy Van Austin. I just wanted to let you know we only have 3 bills. So I will work with Amy to make sure we have the committees they're going to, so that you'll know, you know, it's going to Assembly Health Committee or what have you. So I'll include that, and I'll work with Amy to include that.
okay, sounds great. Kathy, while you're on, Kathy Harper was questioning whether the same thing could be true this year as was done last year. The Sacramento teams, the ones that are in Sacramento, were able to Zoom from your meeting location, your office. And she's wondering if that's possible again this year.
Oh, of course. Yes, absolutely.
Great. And I don't know if we're going to cover this later, but if the discussion gets started late and we don't have time to cover all 3 bills, how would you prioritize?
I would prioritize our sponsored bills, which is AB 2843 and AB 2326.
Okay, so when we go over the bills, maybe we want to mention that again, panelists.
Sure.
Okay, and let's see, should we go back to presentation now? I mean, there are some questions, but maybe we can answer some of them offline. What would you like to do, Amy?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's go back to the presentation.
Okay.
And at this point, we are going to be sharing with you the talking points for each of the 3 bills, starting with the talking points for Assembly Bill 2843. So I'd like to introduce Sue Miller for this portion.
Hello, everyone. I hope you're looking forward to this event, as many of us are. I'm happy to talk to you about Assembly Bill 2843, which is a sponsored bill, which means that our legislative advocate will be spending considerable time trying to get this bill passed. The problem: access to medical care after sexual assault is not only necessary for the health of the survivor, but also for gathering evidence that leads to the perpetrator's conviction. Prohibitive cost is one of the reasons many sexual assault survivors do not seek medical care following their assault. Insurance cost sharing, including deductibles, can run anywhere from $350 to $1,000, depending upon the survivor's healthcare plan. This cost disproportionately impacts historically marginalized communities who are already less likely to access and utilize formal support systems such as medical care, mental health, or criminal justice systems. Prohibitive costs are not only discouraging an assault survivor from seeking the medical care she needs or they need, but also hamper their pursuit of justice. In 2022, only about 20% of rape survivors sought medical care following their rape, and only 21.4% of rape survivors reported their assault to the police. Of every 1,000 sexual assaults, there are only 28 felony convictions, with 25 of those convictions resulting in incarceration of the perpetrator. The proposed solution in AB 2843, while many factors may impact a person's decision to seek care and/or report a rape, cost for medical care should not be one of them. AB 2843 would require health insurance plans to provide coverage without cost sharing for emergency room medical care and follow-up health treatment following a rape or sexual assault, thus eliminating concerns about cost. This bill would prohibit a health insurer from requiring, as a condition of coverage, that the insured file a police report, that the insured brings charges against the assailant, or that the assailant be convicted of rape or sexual assault. Please ask your senator or assembly member to vote aye on AB 2843.
Thank you, Sue. Now we're going to go to Kathy Van Osten, who is going to talk about the Assembly Bill AB 2326.
Thank you, Amy. 2326 is a bill that this is one that came to us externally. The author contacted us to ask us to sponsor this bill. And you may recall last year we were looking we were hoping to introduce a Title IX bill and sponsor one, but that didn't quite come there. For AB 2326, what this bill does, it comes on the heels of a state audit report on the higher education institutions in California, public higher education institutions. So this is just for your background. But what the auditor found was that the CSUs, the UCs, the community colleges, for the most part, are not in compliance with Title IX. So what we are working to do is Title IX, it's intended to not only provide equity in the sports programs and academic programming at the institutions, but it is also supposed to provide a process for complaints of harassment, bullying, discrimination, sexual assault. We know that sexual assault on campuses, higher ed campuses, are woefully underreported. And in many times it's, you know, he said, she said, the university doesn't want to, you know, just depends on whether it's a professor or another student. So one, it's underreported, and secondly, you have really the university's not doing a great job. So I'm sorry, I just got to this page here, Amy, I apologize. So what you can tell by I'm sorry, that where did I just lost the screen share. Thank you. So stick stick closely to these points. That way you don't, I apologize, I'm providing way too much information. But if you stick with these, I think you'll be fine. The free auditors report, as I mentioned, indicated that in particular, this was on the Cal State University system. It did not adequately and consistently address allegations of sexual harassment, and concluded the CSU system's handling of Title IX related complaints has not adequately or consistently addressed allegations of inequality, harassment, sexual harassment, and harassment among the institutions, and lacks a consistent method for addressing unprofessional conduct that does not rise to the level of sexual harassment. Prior to the state auditor report dating back to 2014, similarly report to a 2014 similar report that Title IX compliance from the University of California and the community colleges, they were not in good compliance. They were not in compliance with Title IX requirements for processing these complaints. So do we have the next page here? Or is that? There.
Yeah, Kathy, the next page is being shared. Can you see that?
Yes, I can. Thank you. So just for your information, AB 2326 is a part of a package of bills that are responding to the state auditor report. What 23 does is require the chancellors of the community colleges, the state universities, and the president of the university system to provide a report to the legislature, to their boards of governors or the board of regents at the UC level, on the state of the college or university system, and ensuring district programs and activities are free from discrimination and therefore in compliance with Title IX. This report shall include an overview of the Chancellor's Office's efforts in monitoring and ensuring compliance of each district, with providing programs and activities free from discrimination, including but not limited to sexual harassment. This annual report will be publicly orally presented to the Senate and Assembly budget committees on
Kathy, we've lost your audio.
We're sort of at the end of this slide. Do you want to move forward?
I apologize, my my internet went out. Yes. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, thank you. So I don't see the screen, but so AB 2326, what it will do is really hold at the highest level of the institutions those individuals accountable and responsible for informing the legislature of the compliance of their institutions. And then you would ask your senator or assembly member to vote aye on the bill. And, if they have questions, if you can answer them, that's fine. If you cannot answer questions, if you don't know the answer, that's really, really okay. It happens all the time. It happens in committees, it happens in meetings. Just tell them, I'm not sure about the answer to that. Let us get back to you. And again, make that note, as Amy mentioned, and we will follow up with the office for those questions.
Great. Thank you, Kathy. And before we move to the next one, actually, Missy can jump in here and add a little bit more color to this one. She's very, very familiar with this bill and this issue. So Missy, if you would go ahead.
Hi. Yes, I just wanted to add that, like, as you are talking about this as, and I know we have some other questions about other pieces of Title IX legislation that we have on our longer support list that I'm sure that we'll address in the next Q&A session. But in this bill in particular, something to consider with this proposed solution is as a professor in the California State University system, I've been talking about this bill with students, with other faculty members, and they're very excited about it as an annual audit and placing the responsibility on the chancellor's office, because there's a lot of times that, Title IX and DEI work get kind of a lot of lip service, but this is something that is actually going to be very public and hold the chancellors accountable for the work that they're doing or not doing for Title IX enforcement in their system. So I think, that's just a note to consider in thinking about advocating for this particular bill as a mechanism for thinking about, as we talk about, or as you look at the bill tracker and think about the other pieces of Title IX legislation that are in this larger package. So, Amy, is there anything else you want me to say about this?
No, that's great, Missy. Thank you.
No problem.
And then now we will go to Joy Frew, who is going to talk about the talking points for AB 2099.
Thank you, Amy. Our third bill that we're going to be presenting on Lobby Days is Protecting Reproductive Health Clinics. The author is Assemblymember Rebecca Bauer-Kahan. The problem is there has been a significant increase in extreme anti-choice attacks against abortion clinics since the overturning of Roe versus Wade. Between 2021 and 2022, there was a 100% increase in arson at clinics, with one instance taking place in Burbank, California. During the same time period, death threats and threats of harm against care providers increased by 20%. Next slide. Protesters have started using the internet to target providers, patients, and volunteers, posting photos, names, and locations. The threats and online harassment are not only intimidating, but also pose serious personal risks. While these offenses can be criminal, it can be difficult for law enforcement to take action against offenders. California is one of the few places where people can receive safe and legal abortions in the United States. With the risk of criminal prosecution that many women face in other states, protecting patients' privacy and healthcare access in California has become ever more crucial. Next slide, please. And the proposed solution is AB 2099. Under current California law, it is a misdemeanor to post information about reproductive health care patients or providers with the intent of using that information to commit a crime involving violence or threat of violence against them. AB 2099 makes it possible for the DA to file a violation of these provisions as a felony if the posting and subsequent action by another person results in bodily injury. AB 2099 provides more serious recourse against individuals who personally or otherwise foment violence or the threat of violence or work to inhibit or prevent an individual's constitutional rights, including their access to reproductive health care. Prosecutors will have latitude to pursue felony charges as they deem fit, based upon the severity of the actions taken and the circumstances. AB 2099 further increases legal protections for reproductive health care providers and patients commensurate with the risk they face. It preempts escalations in extremist violence and protects the rights of individuals seeking and providing necessary health care. So ask your senator or assembly member to vote aye on AB 2099. And I believe we're going to go to questions now.
Thank you, Joy.
Okay. Yeah, we're gonna talk about the bill questions for right now. I think KVO is answering some right now. Okay. Regarding AB 2843, has Kaiser Permanente taken a position on it? And since they cover 50% of our county residents, it would help to know if they support it. So do we have that answer?
Kathy, do you?
Yeah, Kaiser, actually Kaiser has done one of the studies that we used as part of our research. I don't anticipate that Kaiser will support it. I don't think any of the health plans will support the bill. They tend to not like bills that eliminate co-shares or cost sharing. So I would not expect that they will be supporting the bill.
And does
I would be surprised.
Yeah. Does AB 2843 or AB 2843 does not offer anything for victims who are uninsured? Is that correct?
It really doesn't speak to uninsured victims. There's Medi-Cal patients already do not have cost sharing for ER visits. So it wouldn't necessarily make a change in their lives. For those who are not insured, it's not going to do anything about cost sharing. And it doesn't waive the costs for the care. I do want to underscore that rape kits and forensic exams are free under the federal law. California also provides some services, but they do not cover many services. They do not recover the cost sharing be waived for diagnostics, for HIV prophylactics. They're fairly severe medical trauma. That's not covered under the federal act or state laws. So, cost sharing can be significant depending on the level of care needed.
Thank you. I think we're going back to 2843, looks like. And the question is, so what about private California-based colleges and universities? I guess it would be more difficult to require the same kind of reporting from them. Do we think they will follow suit? This is the Title IX.
On the Title IX, the state really does not impose these types of requirements. I mean, these schools are supposed to comply with Title IX. There's no question about it. But in terms of the state telling them, you have to come, give us a report, the state really doesn't have that authority to regulate the schools and have them come before the legislature because they're not funded by taxpayer dollars. So, what we do have oversight of are those institutions that are funded by public dollars.
Sense. Okay. Marie, AB 2099, we have a couple of questions. What does a state mandated local program mean?
That's a typical phrase that's used at the end of bills that require where California would impose a requirement on a local entity, a local government, anything that would have a cost for locals. So, for example, you would have your local county health plans, perhaps that would be required to, pick up some of the costs for this cost sharing. The local plans, I have talked to their lobbyists just as a little piece of information. She expects that they will support the bill. But that's what that means. A state mandated local program, the state imposes a mandate. Locals are supposed to comply with it, and the state has to either fund that activity or explain why they're not funding that activity. So it's really nothing that you have to worry about in a conversation with members. They never ask questions about that thing. It's just a legislative tool, and it's language that we don't really worry about in terms of these types of meetings.
Does the percentage increase in attacks on reproductive health clinics refer to just California or the whole US?
No, California can only impact California. We can't impose any charges or any mandates or any rules around hospitals or patients or anybody else in other states.
Okay, why would subsections A and B still remain only misdemeanors on the first violation? What are A and B? This is 2099.
I apologize, I do not have the bill in front of me, so I'm not sure what that refers to.
Okay, well, we can answer unless Joy has it.
Well, I was just going to hazard a guess that it seems that the emphasis on this bill are crimes that result in physical harm to people. So I can see situations where there might be threats, but they don't result in any physical harm to anybody. Or maybe they're just internet threats that might be a misdemeanor, and since they don't result in physical harm, then it's not something that they're going to be able to bring a felony charge against somebody. That's my hypothesis.
How do we handle First Amendment questions about AB 2099?
First Amendment questions. I'm trying to think about what kind of, okay, so your freedom of speech, but if you're inciting, if you are inciting violence against an individual, that can be something that I think would withstand a challenge if you had to go to court. Anytime that you are suggesting that people either attack, bomb a facility, harm an individual, and you're, literally people might try to take you up on that. That is something that would certainly be decided by the court. And even if somebody decided to challenge the statute and take it to court, we would have that answer. But I am not a constitutional scholar, but my understanding is if you are looking to direct harm to somebody specifically, that can be something that the state can say, you cannot do that. You cannot direct people to threaten, harm, cause physical harm, and any way damage.
Okay, and Kathy did respond. Kathy Harper, I'm sorry, on 2099, A and B refers to the subsections in the existing statute that covers this conduct. So provided some clarity there. Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
And I think the rest can be answered. We will answer your questions. If they don't get answered during the webinar tonight, we will be going over these questions after the fact, after the webinar, and we'll post an FAQ if there are enough of them, or if there are any that we feel need to be relayed to you, and post that on the website and let everybody know. I think we've covered all the ones that are bill related. So we can move on to the next part of our program.
Thanks, Tracy. Okay, so logistics. Before the meeting, the team leader does not need to contact the legislative office. They have received the meeting details from us. For those who are meeting in person, be ready to begin on time at the designated location. For those meeting on Zoom, everybody should make sure that you're familiar with Zoom and that your equipment is in good working order. And if you have any questions about one of the legislators that you're meeting with, or about any of your meetings, please contact Kathy Van Osten at this number. And after the meeting, we're asking for team leaders to please complete the online evaluation form for each one of the meetings that you have and submit those no later than April 6th. And be sure to note any questions or any requests for information that came up during the meeting so that we can follow up with the legislative office. Also, some of you probably want to have a paper copy of the visit evaluation form that you can take notes on in real time during your meeting. If so, you can find a visit evaluation form for your notes on the website that you can print out and bring with you to the meeting. Finally, team leaders, please send a thank you email to the member or the staffer that you met with. Do we have any final questions?
Just a clarity question, and I think that's being answered already. The stats regarding the 100% increase in attacks on the clinics. That was the question was really, is it that California only that it's 100% increase, or is that nationwide?
We will have to go back and check on the specifics of that.
The data comes from the National Abortion Federation. So I believe the increase is like taken from nationwide data, not California specific data.
Okay. Let me see if there's anything else here quickly. There was a question, Roe v. Wade overturned in June of 2022. The data covers 2021 to 2022. Error if talking about actions post RVW. In other words, I'm guessing what Claire Noonan is questioning is if we talk about data that's covering prior to the overturn, should we be doing that?
Okay. Yeah, let us check into the details of that, and we'll modify the talking points if we need to.
Yeah, okay. And the rest of them, I think we can cover. I think we can cover unless anybody else on the panel thinks they need to be covered here. Looks to me like they can be covered post webinar. Yeah, some of our logistics and so forth.
Yeah.
So at this time, Amy, do you want to go on to the web page, the website?
Yes, yeah, Julika, if you could share that, let's just quickly let people know what is there on the website. So this year, rather than emailing out to everybody all of the materials for lobby days, we have posted everything on the website. So if you go to the AAUW California homepage and then scroll down here, right there on the right-hand side is lobby days. And if you click on that and scroll down, you can see that there are all of the lobby day materials, everything that we covered here tonight and more. So you can find the bill talking points, bill packages, including the bill text and the fact sheets, as well as information about how to conduct the meetings. And there is the online visit evaluation form, the visit evaluation form that you can print off in order to take your notes on it during your meeting. And we have team leader responsibilities on here and information for the team of people that are going to Sacramento. So there's lots of good material here. Please come here, explore it, check out what's here, and you'll be able to download and print anything that you need from here. There is also a button up at the top for a Lobby Day summary packet. It's a nice packet. Unfortunately, though, a lot of this has been dynamic and it has been updated. So some of the materials that are in that packet may not be the very latest one. For the latest materials, go directly to each one of these links that are highlighted in the blue color. Okay, and I think that concludes what we wanted to cover here today. I thank you all so much for joining us, and I'm looking forward to a great event next week on the 2nd and the 3rd. And I hope you all have fun. Enjoy.
And I just want to share with everybody, just to remind you that when you log off, a survey will launch and we would really appreciate your input. Thank you very much for attending.